If you run a business and you are effective at selling anything, if you're effective at marketing your company, Jason, eventually you're going to have more than just you working in your office.
True, you're going to have employees.
You're going to have employees. And if you're good at managing the couple employees you have, pretty soon it becomes a lot of employees. And
Right.
if you're good at recruiting people, pretty soon there are many, many employees, dozens of employees, maybe even hundreds of employees. And somewhere along the way, you have to learn how to lead an effective meeting, or what happens?
Otherwise, nothing gets done, ever.
Folks, if your meetings feel like beatings, this is the show for you. If you want to learn how to effectively run a business meeting, this is the show for you. Take notes, grab a pen and a pad, and enter into the lab as we enter into the Dojo of Mojo Faux Show.
Three, two, one, boom! You are now entering the Dojo of Mojo and the Thrive Time Show.
Thrive Time Show on the microphone. What is this? Top of the iTunes charts in the category of business. Drilling down on business topics like we are a dentist. Providing you with mentorship like you are an apprentice. And we go so fast that you might get motion sickness. Grab a pen and pad to the lab. Let's get in this. It's time to bear some fruit like some Florida oranges. 3, 2, 1. Here come the business ninjas.
Sonic boom!
Yes, 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 and yes. Jason, we are in the air everywhere. How are you this morning, sir?
Oh, man, I'm great. I'm alive. I woke up.
We're recording this show at 6:07 in the morning. I have no idea when you, Mr. or Mrs. Listener, will hear this show, but the one thing I want to communicate to everybody out there is if you're going to grow a successful company, you have to be intentional about every aspect of your business, because your business will not drift to success. You must be intentional about proactively planning every aspect of your business. Otherwise, it's just going to fall apart. And I get asked this all the time by clients. I get asked this all the time via email. I get asked this all the time at conferences. And so I thought we should talk about this at least one time. It's how to effectively lead a business meeting.
Oh, I've heard this question too.
How to effectively lead a meeting. So before we get into the details, Jason, you work with great clients.
I do.
Where can it get tough? How do you think some of these business meetings are going for clients if they don't have an intentional structure?
Oh, man. One of the common things that I hear is there's just like the overall lack of structure leads to it leads to them getting nothing done in the meeting. They sit down for their 30 minutes or hour of power and everybody walks away going, what do we take away from that?
Breck,
Yes.
you know this. As a chiropractor, as you were starting your company, drbreck.com, you grew this small chiropractic into from you to then you and another person, and then from you to a team, and then pretty soon you go, there's many of us here.
Right.
How long did it take you to grow from you to one other person?
Trying to think. A couple of years, actually.
When did you start being a chiropractor?
In 2004.
2004. And how long was it before you had a team of 3 people?
Team of 3 didn't happen until 2009.
Okay, so 2009, if you can picture it. Go back to 2009, if you can picture it. In 2009, do you remember the first time you had to have an all-staff meeting?
I did.
And how'd that go?
Not great.
Why?
Because I wasn't good at running structured meetings. And there were some strong personalities in the room, and so part of the meeting got a little hijacked. And you're trying to get everybody to focus on the same task or the same idea, and that did not go well for me.
Jason, you've worked for other businesses before coming to work with us.
I have.
What other companies have you worked for, or what other industries have you been in previous to coming to join us here at the Elephant in the Room and then make your life epic? And
Yeah, so right before I moved over to Elephant in the Room, I worked for a oil and gas company. And then before then, I worked for a rental car agency. And then before then, I worked in multiple different jobs in the food industry.
Okay, and can you think about those meetings that you were in before? Yeah. Were any of those meetings good?
No, any of the ones in the food industry were not great.
Why?
They were not even really meetings. You'd have the manager kind of haphazardly assemble everybody and then have the worst direction and execution as far as reiterating what everybody needed to do. And it was always around like a holiday. We never had this is the funny thing. We never had meetings unless it was like Mother's Day. They're like, all right, all hands on deck. Nobody's getting time off. We're staying open 14 hours. And the whole goal is to upsell people. And that was it. And then when you move into, so when I got into corporate America at the rental car company, it was a little bit more structured. We'd have like weekly huddles, not so much meetings. We'd have weekly huddles and then like monthly meetings, and they'd kind of go over, key performance indicators. A lot of it was more just like the feel good, like how's everybody doing? Is everybody happy? And then when I was in the oil and gas position, though, that one was a lot more structured. We'd sit down at a conference table. My boss had an agenda. That one was a little bit more controlled, but it was also extremely boring.
Now, I'm going to teach everybody on today's show how to run a meeting effectively. But before I do that, I want to talk about the 5 people that are in every meeting. If you have a meeting of 10 people or more, these 5 people will always be in the meeting. All right? So personality number 1, it's the side talker and the distractor.
That used to be
What,
me.
what did you say was that? You said something?
This would be the person that has never held, they've never sustained a thought in their mind. And the idea of thinking makes them, they have to fill the room with side comments.
Yep.
So as an example, back in the day when Jason used to lead a lot of aspects of the elephant in the room meeting, I remember there's one particular person, I will not mention her name. Oh, but she was dumb.
Yeah.
I mean, really dumb.
I think I know who you're talking about.
And Jason would get up there and say, okay, guys, what we're going to do now is we're going to teach you how to effectively sell memberships. And she would go, we go over this every week. I'm like, how's that funny? But she would go, oh, yeah, I bet you. And then next he's going to say this. And then because you went through how to sell a membership.
Right.
And you get good at doing things by repeating them. And then she would go, he's going to go over in just a second, he's going to say this. And then you would say, see, he just said this. And her whole thing was she loved getting 4 to 5 of the 40 people to pay attention to her because that's what she does.
Right.
This person also goes to church. They like to go to church, and they love to, when the pastor is talking or when somebody's praying, they love to get on their phone and text people. They always are talking about a joke that is unrelated to the sermon. Yep. This person also attends movies. They're in the movie theater, and they love to text in the movie. They love to show up late during the movie. They love to say, excuse me, sorry. They love to get up and go to the bathroom 18 times. This is that personality. You could be watching a movie with them for the first time that neither one of you have ever seen before, and they will be asking you, what's happening now? What's happening? What's happening?
Why did they do that?
Because
Who
this
is
is
this
that personality type. And so you have to learn how to deal with this person. The second is the complainer. Now, we all just had Thanksgiving and Christmas. And the complainer, Breck, you've seen this, I'm sure, in the office setting before. This is someone who just makes a list of everything that is bad and focuses on that.
Absolutely.
And if nothing's bad, they focus on the weather, they focus on the economy, they focus on their neighbor. They
No
focus
solutions,
just
only complaints.
Why is this personality type so dangerous if you let it just go unthwarted in your meetings?
Well, they tend to grab other people's attention and get them on board, and so the next thing you know, everybody's feeling that negativity.
It kills the entire morale of the meeting. Just brings it straight down. And if you don't nip it in the bud quick, it turns into a coup fast.
Right.
And Jason, you used to do the morning huddles every single day at Elephant in the Room, and you would remind people, hey, guys, great job yesterday. We're going to go over these checklists today, make sure we get this done. And, hey, make sure you don't use your phone.
Yeah, the second you remind an adult, hey, we can't have a phone on the floor, the chronic complainer will roll their eyes so hard like the dead will feel it.
Unbelievable. Then you have the third personality that's in every meeting. These are all the distracting personalities. The not mentally present guy. It's where he'll go, what? So you'll say, all right, everybody, what we're going to do now is in just a second, we're going to all get up and we're going to go to these different areas and we're going to role play. And they'll say, what?
Yeah.
Or you'll say, Carl, what do you think? And he'll go, yeah. Because he's not paying attention. He always has his cell phone under the desk. He's always texting. He's always doing something. He's not mentally present. He's just there. He's usually yawning.
Yep. Or trying to hide it with just the closed mouth yawn.
Right. He's usually sleeping. My favorite is when they're sleeping. Now, I'm going to tell you this. You want to talk about the kind of person that won't get promoted? It's the guy who sleeps in the meetings. But this is real.
Yep.
Breck, have you seen this before?
Well, nobody's ever slept in my meetings, but
really?
But I mean, yeah, they have been mentally absent for sure.
Jason,
that
we've
has
caught
happened.
sleepers.
Oh, I've caught sleepers at the conference.
Yes.
Like dead center, like everybody
That's
can see
kinda
you.
Impressive.
Oh,
the conference is loud. It's energetic. I don't know how you sleep.
Well, one guy showed up completely high. Totally high. And we do a great job of vetting every single person who attends the conference. But this guy came with his boss. And by the way, if you're listening right now, our conferences are not for your employees.
No.
They are for people that own their own business. And this guy got brought along with his boss, and he was high as a kite. But this is the real thing. Now, fourth, This is just a bad idea guy. He has a really sincere idea that he wants to impart upon you.
Yep.
It's not going to work. It cannot be done, and it's a bad idea.
And it may be against the law.
And it may be against the law.
I've just developed this brand new dehydrated water pill. We just add it to a cup of water, and you'll have instantly a cup of water, boss. We should do that one.
Beautiful. Now, let me give you an example of this. This would be like an elephant in the room. Jason, can you please explain what kind of people can do a straight razor shave and what kind of people cannot in the great state of Oklahoma?
In the great state of Oklahoma, only a certified barber who has a license that was issued to them from the Oklahoma Board of Cosmetology and Barbering can handle a straight razor on somebody's skin.
Now, again, if for those of you who are not familiar with this, one of the companies I own is called Elephant in the Room. It's a men's grooming lounge. We do haircuts for guys.
Yes.
And I'll never forget this. We had a member of the team years ago who said, we need to make sure that we can offer a straight razor shave for everybody.
Yep.
And I said, well, you have to have a barber license to do that.
Yep.
And currently, like 1/20th of our team has the ability to do it.
If even that.
Yeah, it's maybe 3 out of 40 people, or 2 out of 40 people have the ability to do it. So this guy says, well, I've been doing it for the last couple weeks in my store, and it's the guys who get the straight razor shave love it. And I'm going, although you've been doing it, the problem is those people will then come back and want it the next time.
Yep.
And then the person that they get paired up with for the haircut won't be able to do it.
Nope.
You are creating the doom loop. It's where people want something that we cannot provide, and the circle repeats itself over and over and over. It's the cycle of funk.
Yep.
So in the meeting, he says, well, okay, well, is there any way we can start offering it maybe next month? And I say, no. But he continues to implement the straight razor.
Yep.
This kind of stuff. This is why you have a meeting, is to deal with this kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Now we move on to personality number 5. This is the big vision guy who, this is how this meeting goes with the big vision guy. He's in the meeting. He goes, Jason, I have something I want to share real quick. Can I share this real quick?
Yeah, go, please.
We have 3 stores. And pretty soon, if we just open 4, that'll be 4. And the revenue from the 4th we could use to open the 5th. And then the 5th we could use the revenue from those 2 to open up 10. And then pretty soon we can all pool our money and we'll have haircut places everywhere. Can I borrow $500? It's that personality type. And it's just where it's big visions, no specifics. It
Can
doesn't
execute.
get done. Can
Yep.
execute. So we're going to talk about on today's show. This is the nitty-gritty of how you actually run a meeting, knowing that these 5 personalities are in the meeting. All right? This is how we're going to do it. All right, so step 1, you got to make an agenda. And Jason, why do you have to type out an agenda for your team or have an agenda that everybody physically sees in the meeting every time?
Well, it goes back to when we do our sales training, which we'll get to as we work through this agenda. You want to have something physical in front of somebody, and you want to be able to follow along, use the power of the pen to guide people, because this is going to provide the structure. It's the outline. This is from beginning to end what we're talking about. That way everybody can see what we're focusing on and what's to come next. That way they don't, in a perfect world, they don't get bored.
There you go. You got to have a printed agenda so people know how long it's going to take, where they are on the agenda, what's being covered. Also, when you take the time needed to write it out, it forces you to clarify your ideas in advance.
Yep.
Thus, you have a point.
Yep. Helps you as a presenter.
Now, why do you want to step 2? Why do you want to schedule the same time for the meeting every week? Jason, why don't you want to say, hey, next week, I'll call you guys, all 40 of you, and we'll find a time that works. Why do you want to have the same time every week?
We want to keep that consistency. If you want people to show up to the meeting, if you want everybody to be on board, you have to schedule at the exact same time for everybody. You can't have like some wavering schedule. It has to be same day, same time. Let everybody know where they have to be, when they have to be there, and then just keep it consistent.
Why is that idea so unsettling for some people? The idea of having a meeting at the same time every week. Why is that idea just... that's right there where you lose probably 99% of people that want to be an entrepreneur right there. Why is that such a difficult idea?
Well, it comes down to, for me, from what I've seen, it's 2 things. People love new things and they hate repetition. They have to have something new and exciting. Otherwise, it gets bored or it gets boring. or two, they already have a schedule, and I'll have to do air quotes, tell the people at home, and they can't move something and find the spot for it. So like, well, I have gaps as the week goes on, so for me personally, it would benefit me to put them in here so I don't have to move something else. There's that fear of confrontation of setting something else aside, reestablishing the schedule, and then just having it move forward consistently after that.
So let's talk about this again. You print out your weekly meeting agenda. You got to print it out. Now maybe before that step, you should actually make the agenda.
True.
You should probably make the agenda before you print out the agenda. Otherwise, you're just printing out a
Printing
blank
out a blank
sheet of
paper.
Okay, so you make the weekly
the
agenda.
big idea guy.
All right, so you get that agenda going on. And I'll tell you what you need to put on the agenda. Okay. Step 2, though, you got to print out that weekly agenda.
Yep.
Step 3, you got to schedule a time for that to be recurring at the same time every week. Now, this right here is a mind-rocking idea that may just set somebody free or make someone's brain explode. I'm not sure what's going to happen here. On the agenda, you only want to put on the agenda that which you want to discuss.
Really? Elaborate.
Well, because a lot of business owners get into a meeting and there's no agenda.
Right.
And they're just in there and their employees are around for like this laser show of them. It's like them sorting through their ideas for the first time.
The worst part, though, is the entrepreneur that sits down in front of the team and goes, all right, team, what are we discussing today?
Oh, it's the
Yeah.
worst.
And then you give them the floor, and you're like, oh, I should not have said that.
Let's mind dump together.
And I see a lot of entrepreneurs that use their meeting time to just, it's like a therapy session where everyone is listening to them vent about the world. So let's do an example. I've been in staff meetings because I used to go to, business owners used to hire me to go to their offices to observe them leading meetings. I've been in meetings before where there was no agenda, and at no point does the business owner talk about anything related to the company.
Nope.
The
And it
entire
started
time.
10 minutes late.
Right. you got to schedule that recurring meeting at the same time on the same day every week, and you got to put on the agenda that which needs to be discussed. So now we've got kind of our setup here. We got the weekly agenda. We've printed it out. We got the same time every week, and now we have to present. Now, when you present, Nathan, you've attended churches that are good churches.
Oh, yeah.
Some churches that are not good churches. Some churches where the pastor had the absolute best of intentions and was terrible. Sometimes you have a pastor who has the worst of intentions but is a good communicator. Sometimes you have people who have great intentions and are great presenters. We've seen all different kinds of churches. But why do you have to know that the church service is at a specific time every week?
It's really difficult to show up to a church service to receive that amazing nugget you're going to get this week when you don't know when it's going to be.
Now you
could just sit at church the whole week and just hopefully be there the day he walks in.
I literally worked with a church years ago, and the pastor's telling me we're stuck at about 300 people, 250 to 300. Upon further review, I get there, and there's like more than 7 people, but less than 100.
Oh, it was the yearly number he was giving you.
Yeah, I don't know what he was giving me, but I get to this church, and the church service is supposed to start at, I'm making up the times, I don't know, maybe 9:30. And dude shows up at 9:45. Jason, why do you have to start the meeting on time?
Well, if we're going to go over every single thing in the meeting, and if we have that weekly meeting scheduled at a specific time, it would behoove us to show up on time so we could actually get it done at the time that we scheduled.
This guy, though, this pastor, I'm talking to him. I said, hey, buddy, are you typically 10 minutes late? He goes, yeah, sometimes. But I mean, I'm usually on time. Yeah. Now, this is what made me even crazier.
You had one job.
He gets up there to preach, and at no point does he have a point.
Right.
You can tell he is literally free-forming out.
Just winging it.
Right.
Just winging it.
Well, that's where I want it, my religion.
And it's rough. It's rough. I mean, he's like, in the book of Luke, the Lord demonstrated miracles. And people are like, that's true. Okay. And if you turn with me to, and he's up there like looking for where to turn. Now, what happens when, I'm serious, this is a real story. What happens when a guy's up there looking for where to go in the Bible and there's 100 people looking at him? 200 eyeballs, 100 people. What begins to happen, Jason, when someone's looking at you and you clearly did not prepare for the meeting? What happens to 99% of people at that point when you don't have your stuff together and the world looks at you?
You try to self-correct, but then with all of that pressure, you start to get panicky.
There you go.
This used to happen to me a lot.
Panicky.
So, I was in a public speaking class, and I was that kid who didn't like to do my homework. I'm like, I'll just prepare like 5 minutes beforehand.
I'll wing it, baby.
Oh, yeah. Then you get in front of everybody, and you walk in with the confidence. You start to give the charisma, and then the second you have to go to make a point, you look down at your notes and you realize you have no notes. So then your brain starts trying to connect things. And when your brain's trying to think of something and your mouth's trying to move at the same time, you start to go, and then you trip over your tongue.
And then you start moving back and forth quickly.
Oh, yeah, but then you get
like an oscillating
you
fan.
get sweaty, but not in like the good preacher
eyes
sweaty,
are-
and like there's something wrong with him. He might have a fever.
And then you start to go, and then you start looking for an exit because your speech teacher told you to look
And
for
you
an
get
exit.
louder.
You get, hey, man, I was just living
Down by the river.
It gets weird. It gets
It's
really
weird fast.
Right, it does. And so I want them to make sure everybody here. This is why a lot of people struggle in their staff meetings because, one, you got to have a weekly agenda. Got that? Okay. 2, you got to print out the weekly meeting agenda. 3, you got to schedule the meeting to be recurring at the same time on the same day every week. 4, you got to start that thing on time.
Mm-hmm.
Now 5, okay, you have when you do this meeting, you've got to stay on target. You got to stay on the flow. You got to stay on the agenda.
target.
You have to do it. Jason, the temptation is to not stay on target.
This is true.
And what begins to happen if you're not intentional, even though you've prepared, even though you have an agenda, even though everyone's there, you've started on time, what is the thing that's going to happen if you're not intentional?
If you're not intentional, you're either going to say something that has nothing to do with the meeting in general, or you're going to end that thing before you need to. I used to be very bad at this, so there are times where, like conference weekends, you'd be up front or you'd be up manning the Thrive Time Show conference, and I would be running the Elephant in the Room meeting, and you'd say, okay, here's the agenda. Here's exactly what you cover. It should take you 30 minutes max, and then after that, we're going to split into groups. Managers do membership training. Stylists do stylist training. You speak for 30 minutes. They train for 30 minutes. Go get them. And I'd get up there, and I'd see the agenda, and I'm like, all right, cool. I can do this. I can present this just like Clay.
Here we go.
But because I didn't go through the agenda, I would just think of the regular talking points, and so I'd skip past everything other than, hey, how you doing? Let's look at stats. All right, cool. Where are we going for training? And then everybody look at their watch and go, well, Jason gets these meetings done in 10 minutes. He must be really efficient. I'm like, no, I just skipped a lot of information. And then there's
they
a bunch
start
of
to think of, why are we having these meetings?
Yep.
Do we even need these meetings? Can we just text in? Can we just email in? Can we just Zoom it up? And then it's a problem.
Right.
So here we go. All right. So you stay on the agenda. Move 5. Move 6. Okay. This is all how to lead a meeting. You got to follow up when you go through this agenda. You got to follow up on the crap that we said we were going to do last week.
Yes.
Now, if churches started doing this, oh boy, I mean, this would be a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. I'll tell you why it's not going to happen. Because that would require accountability, and whenever you do accountability, somebody gets fired, somebody gets praised publicly, somebody gets publicly hung. I mean, this part right here, this is where a lot of business owners, they just simply will not follow up here. Now, let me explain the awkward nature of what it is that I do for a living, what we do for a living. We help you grow a business, but it's like a relay race. So the client will say, I want to write a book.
Yep.
And we'll go, cool. This week, client, I need you to write out the manuscript. And we teach them how to do it. And then next week, when you give it to us, we will then edit it, and then we'll give it back to you. And then you will edit it again. This is how you write a book, by the way. Then you'll edit it, and then we'll edit it. This is like back and forth for 4 or 5 weeks. Once you go through it and it's edited where it's 100% grammatically correct, then my team will typeset it. Then we will put it up on a print-on-demand option. Then we'll put it on Amazon. We'll get you an ISBN number, blah, blah, blah. We'll make a cover. There's a lot of stuff.
Sure.
But we can't do anything unless you write the book.
True.
Yeah.
And years ago, I remember this client, a funny man. This guy, he got into our program by lying what he does for a living.
Classy.
Now, true story. He says he had this retail store, which was true. It wasn't his. That's the part where he lied. And he worked there. He didn't own it.
Right.
But he called us and said, I have this retail store. I'd love for you to help me grow my business. Then in like a second meeting, he goes, now here's the deal. He says to the coach, my business is doing really well, but really how I make my money is I have a multi-level program, and it is phenomenal.
There it is.
I make millions. I mean, I'm talking about millions. I'm talking, I mean, in the future, I'm going to be making hundreds of millions. And I need you guys to help me write a book on how to effectively sell these essential oils. This is what I do. And so I'm going to go ahead and write the manuscript, and then we'll submit that. So the coach tells me, hey, this guy's a multi-level guy. He's been telling us that he is a...
I heard those are your favorite.
Oh, I won't work with you. If you're out there, by the way, and you're a multi-level person and you're not shady, that's great. Don't be offended. If you're out there and you're a multi-level person and you are in a shady organization and you see the pyramid imploding, that's called multi-level. Okay. But anyway, so this guy, he says, but here's the deal. I'm just going to write this book. And I'm still going to pay the monthly fee, but I'm just going to write the book and just kind of keep that between you and I. Well, the coach, contacts me and says, hey, this guy is lying about what he does for a living. Can you call him? So I call him. Hey, buddy, we don't work with multi-levels. He goes, I know. I'm an author, though. And since I already paid you, I'd like to, if I can, just at least get the book written. I said, it's month to month. We'll just refund you for the month. He said, no, so I've already paid you. I just want to take this month and write the book. And I'm going, okay, I will take your money for this month. We'll write the book, but then we're done. We're done. That's it.
Yep.
Well, the next meeting, we follow up on the agenda, and guess what he did not do, Jason?
He did not write a single word.
That is correct.
Knew it.
This is called when any one of my clients has ever wanted to write a blog. Ever. I have never had a client ever write a blog. Do you know why, Jason?
Because words are hard, man.
That would require writing it every week.
Yep.
Right.
I'm telling you. Listen, out there, Thrivers, if you are a client and you want to prove me wrong, do it. Then I can talk about you as being the only Thriver we've ever had that has ever written a blog. That's why there's all these websites that have 2 entries.
Yep.
People always look at our show and they go, you have 2,000 shows. How do you do that? Well, you block out time, you do it. But again, Jason, when we follow up on this stuff and the client doesn't write, it's just one-on-one. It's not in front of 40 people.
Right.
And you say, Breck, when you say to, and again, you're not a business consultant, you're a chiropractor, but when you, and I want to get Nathan's take on this, but when you say to a client, your next adjustment will be Tuesday at 4, and they do not show up.
Right.
And you dare to follow up and to ask them what happened. It goes one of 2 ways. Mm-hmm. How does it go?
Well, I mean, we get the, oh, I was busy. I, was overscheduled. You name it.
And
I'm
everybody
sorry,
makes
I'm
mistakes.
sorry, I'm sorry.
Everybody
Yeah.
has done it once. Okay, we have all made a mistake or 2 or whatever. Okay, keep going.
Well, or you've got the people who are just going to perpetually move that appointment around all the time,
And
never getting the results
And
that we
therefore,
talk about.
you don't have the ability to work with another client then or another
Right.
patient because you blocked out time for that patient.
Exactly.
And they don't understand that every time you move it, they are blocking out a time opportunity for another patient.
True.
And you will go bankrupt if you fill up your calendar with those kind of people.
Right.
Right? I mean, elephant in the room, the haircut place the same way.
Yep.
We schedule a haircut for a guy at 9:30 on, let's say 5 p.m. on a Thursday at Elephant in the Room. And the guy calls in 9:30 in the morning. He schedules an appointment for that day at 5 p.m. If he doesn't show up, Jason, what's the stylist doing during that time?
They're doing nothing. We blocked out that specific time for them to take care of that particular customer. And not only are they not doing anything, that prevents us from getting a walk-in. That prevents Breck or Nathan or you from booking that same appointment.
And if we dare follow up and they say, hey, I just wanted to check, make sure you're okay, it goes one of 2 ways. Either 1, they go, oh, my bad, and they want to reschedule. Or 2, they get upset.
Yeah, which is so funny.
The follow-up, the word follow-up, it upsets people.
It does.
I mean, Jason,
Accountability.
you were going to say something.
Oh, it's just it's the people who get super aggressive about the fact that they missed something. It's almost as if they want to attack you for pointing out their flaws with their own scheduling. How dare you remind me that I don't know how to plan? I'm a grown man that can't use a calendar or look at a reminder.
Right.
Now, this same phenomenon occurs with anybody who is charging you for their time. Chiropractors run into this. Hairstylists run into this. Dentists run into this. Personal trainers run into this. Lawyers run into this. But again, I'm trying to teach you how to effectively lead a meeting. And I'm going to tell you, when you effectively lead a meeting, if you do not follow up and ask people, did you get this done from last week? It starts to create this dissonance, where dissonance means cognitive dissonance. It's where your values don't align with your actions. It begins to create this weird vibe. And then that feeling, because America can't handle that, we all can't handle hearing you say these things you're never going to do, then it starts to become sarcasm.
Yep.
So let me give you an example. There was a Thriver years ago. This would be like 10 years ago. They go, hey, Clay. Again, my consulting company, Make Your Life Epic, I've been working with businesses since 2006, so I've seen a lot. But this guy, he's doing so well as a cosmetic surgeon. And he says, what I'm going to do is I'm going to license out my systems to other cosmetic surgeons. And I said, cool. What we will do then is my team will cold call other cosmetic surgeons. We will set an appointment for you so that you can explain to them how your system works, and then you shall receive 6% of their revenue. And all you have to do is meet them every week at the same time to coach that cosmetic surgeon down the path.
Yep, keep them on track.
And I think, Kevin, your client, we're going to be helping him license out his business and maybe franchise.
Oh, yeah, I'm
With
excited.
Multi-Clean. This guy has grown his business. You've worked with him for how long now?
It was 2 years as of like this June.
And he's a consistent man, isn't he?
He is.
He shows up to the weekly meetings, knocks his stuff out.
Every
He's
single
growing
time.
dramatically.
He met me on Christmas Eve.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, what a beautiful story.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Beautiful man.
So Kevin, though, his company has grown, and he says, this is kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to license out my system to other people in the janitorial, commercial cleaning services, field, industry, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a cool thing. Whenever you build a system and you can license it out or franchise it out, and people only have to pay you 6% of the gross revenue
Oh, yeah.
to use your system, it's powerful.
It is.
That's why brands like OxyFresh.com that we work with, why they scale like Tip Top Canine scales. I mean, that's why Jimmy John's does well. It's a proven system. Well, we start setting appointments for this. Wow, I just popped my mic. We start setting up appointments for this cosmetic surgeon, and he misses the appointments with the other cosmetic surgeons.
No.
Now, why does it not work at that point, Jason? When our team diligently cold calls and we schedule appointments for this cosmetic surgeon to talk to another cosmetic surgeon about licensing out the system, why does everything fall apart the moment that the cosmetic surgeon misses the meeting?
Well, it starts to fall apart because you need those meetings in order to keep people on track. Like one of the reasons why Tip Top does so well is you and Andrew meet with them every single week. You meet with Ryan and the other decision makers and say, okay, cool. Here's the big ideas as far as what everybody else needs to do. Then they take that back to everybody else who buys into that franchise model. They reiterate the information. They hold people accountable because just like you said before, if you're not doing the follow-up on the action items on the agenda, if you're not making sure that people are getting the things done they're supposed to do in that given week, people start to drift. And then the more they start to drift, those meetings start to turn into those Captain Sarcasmo meetings where they're like, oh, well, Clay said this, but we know we don't actually have to do that.
And it's interesting because the people that have a habit of making excuses, they actually start to believe them. You know, George Washington Carver, who was actually born a slave, who went on to become a very successful botanist. He was the guy who liberated the African-American people, economically speaking, by teaching them how to bring back nutrients to their soil. Okay, the soil was depleted because a lot of the black people who were now freed former slaves, they didn't know how to do anything other than to grow cotton. So they kept growing cotton, thus depleting their soil of nutrients. George Washington Carver, who was born a slave, researched and found out that if you grow sweet potatoes and peanuts, it not only produces a cash crop, but it also adds nutrients to the soil. The problem is there wasn't a huge market for peanuts or for sweet potatoes, and so he had to create a market for the sweet potato and the peanuts, as well as teaching people how to farm. Incredible what he did for the for people all over America and how he economically liberated black Americans. Unbelievable guy. He was born a slave.
Yep.
And he said 99% of the failures come from people who have the habit of making excuses. Now, this, if you were to follow up at church, it would get weird.
It would.
I mean, all right, guys. Heads bowed, eyes closed. No one looking around. I don't want you. No one looking around up there. How many of you want to accept the Lord as your Lord and Savior? Okay, and imagine that. Okay, we've all been to a church service like that. And then if you want to accept Christ, put your hand up. And imagine you're at church. Somebody puts their hand up, and you. Here's the deal. You were sneaking around. You were looking. You're not supposed to be a looker. He says everybody's heads down, heads bowed, eyes closed. But you're peeping around. You're looking around, going, "Oh, that's Larry up there. Look at Larry. He's giving his life to Christ." Doesn't Larry currently work at a strip club? I think I know this because he told me he does. Okay. Well, you're going, this is good for Larry. Great.
Sure. Yeah.
But then the next week you're on your way home. You're driving home. And you see Larry's truck at the place, the same place that he was at last week, and you go, wait a minute. Or, Carl puts his hand up. He receives Christ. He says he's no longer going to be smoking pot. And you go, that's great for Carl. And you're not, again, you aren't supposed to be looking, but you did look, So you look. That's why we got to keep our eyes closed because we don't want that account. No,
No,
we don't
it's
want that accountability. But so let's talk about what if church ran its services like this, okay? Now again, Carl just put his hand up. You weren't supposed to be looking, but you were peeping, and you saw he said he puts his hand up, and he gets up there and he accepts Christ and he vows he's not going to smoke pot anymore. And you're excited for Carl, he's excited for you, and then the next week you're going to Quick Trip to to fill your car up with gas, and right there at the weed store you see Carl coming out on Thursday getting that weed at 420. There he is.
Exactly.
You're pumping that gas. And again, now let's say that we made church like a business. Oh. All right, I want everybody eyes wide open, everybody looking around.
I'm more of an eyes wide shut guy.
I want everybody's eyes open, and I want everybody to look around. And if you want to receive Christ, I want you to put your hand up. I'm going to write your name on this agenda. And if I hear that you're backsliding, I'm going to read your name off next week as a backslider because that's what I'm talking about because I am leading an effective church service. Glory! And 10 people put their hands up. Good job. Way to receive Christ. You got 7 days. Now remember, Ephesians says, for the days are evil. We're supposed to pray without ceasing. That's what Ephesians talks about. Before the days are evil. Look that up. Read that book of the Bible. It's amazing. So imagine, though, the next week. I mean, Breck, what would happen? Think about that. What would happen if the pastor would say, now, Carl, I saw you buying pot. What would happen? The churches all across America.
Well, I could tell you there wouldn't be mega churches that we see right now with thousands of members.
Not at all.
Those 10 might be the only 10. I think, you would have a very effective, very small group of people.
I can only imagine that.
And it would be awesome, but very small tip of the spear. There wouldn't be much more beyond the tip of that spear.
Now let's talk about business. We'll go back to business again. Now imagine, Nathan, that someone paid you to clean their carpets. And you said to them, yeah, I'll clean your carpets. And they say, hey, I'm coming. And I don't know if this scenario ever happens, but maybe they say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and go to the grocery store. Do people ever leave when you're cleaning, or do the residents typically stay there?
We actually have this as a common problem that we've actually got in our training manual exactly what they need to do. No customer can leave a job until they've paid us. They don't have to stay with us, but they can't leave until they paid. Otherwise, their 5-minute jaunt to Quick Trip turns into like an hour, and then our technician is just screwed for the rest of the day.
How often do people leave when you're there, though? I mean, how often do people want to stick around and watch you clean? How often do they leave?
Well, I don't know if you understand the interest of watching someone clean carpet. It is so exciting. First, they push the wand forward.
It's like power washing,
and then
it's kind of satisfying.
And then they pull the wand back.
How often do people stick around and watch?
I'd say about 20-25% of them leave. The rest of them stay.
Now, this is what's interesting, okay? Because I used to work in the janitorial field for about a week when I was in high school. There are certain people in that industry that won't clean but act like they did clean. I remember this guy I was working with. We were doing cleaning for a school. He just goes into the bathroom and just does the very least minimum effort possible.
Right.
Does he use it first?
No, I'm just saying this guy didn't actually clean.
Right.
And it was abundantly clear when our supervisor showed up to follow up and make sure we'd cleaned everything. Very quickly, he discovered that the guy who was with me did no cleaning at all. How often, Nathan, when you hire carpet techs, do you have to wonder, is this the kind of guy that I could allow to go to someone's house? I mean, how big of a worry is that for you? Because I know you have a great reputation at Complete Carpet, but how big of a worry is that for you that this guy could actually do his job without direct supervision?
That is the number one worry, because all I need to do is put one guy in one person's house and they steal their stuff, and we're done as a business. And that should go to most every business. Like, if you know that you're not putting high-quality people into somewheres, eventually someone's going to own your business because you allowed shenanigans to happen.
Now, let me read Ephesians chapter 5. This is probably a rough part of the Bible for some people. I know every time I read it, I go, I need to improve. Now, as you listen to this, folks, listen to the words here. It says, Ephesians, this is in the Bible, in the book of Ephesians, Paul wrote this book. Paul wrote many books of the Bible while in prison. He was beaten 39 times on 5 separate occasions. Remember, I don't know how your book would sound if you wrote your book in prison. But just remember this. Paul wrote this while in prison. He says, Ephesians chapter 5, "But ye therefore followers of God as dear children, and walk in love as Christ also hath loved us, and hath given himself for us an offering and a sacrifice to God for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanliness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becometh saints, neither filthiness, nor foolish thinking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. For this ye know that no whoremonger, no unclean person, nor covetous man, who is an idolater, hath any inheritance in the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of Christ and of God. Let no man deceive you with his vain words, for because of these things cometh the wrath of God upon the children of disobedience. But not ye therefore partakers with them. For ye were sometimes darkness, but now are ye light in the Lord. Walk as children of light, for the fruit of the Spirit is in all goodness and righteousness and truth, proving what is acceptable unto the Lord. And have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them." That means if you see antichrist behavior going on, you're supposed to correct that stuff. Verse 12, "For it is a shame even to speak of those things which are done of them in secret. But all things that are reproved are made manifest by the light, for whatsoever doth make manifest is light. Wherefore he saith, Awake thou that sleepest, and arise from the dead, and Christ shall give thee light. See then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. Wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding that the will of the Lord is, and not be drunk with wine, wherein is excess, but be filled with the Spirit, speaking to yourselves in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, and singing and making melody in the heart to the Lord. Give thanks always for all things unto God and the Father in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, submitting yourselves to one another in the fear of God. Wives, submit yourself unto your husbands as unto the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, and he is the Savior of the body. Therefore, that as the church is subject unto Christ, so let the wives be to their husbands in everything." What? That's just a fancy. Now, husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it. What? I gotta be nice to my wife? That he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of the water by the word, that he might present it to himself a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, for it should be holy and without blemish. So ought men to love their wives as their own bodies. He that loveth his wife loveth himself. For no man ever hated his own flesh, but nourisheth and cherisheth it, even as the Lord of the church. For we are members of the body, of his flesh, and of his bones. For this cause shall a man leave his mother and father, and shall be joined unto the wife. This is why you shouldn't live with your parents. And they shall be one flesh. This is a great mystery, but I speak in Christ and church. Nevertheless, it says, nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his wife even as himself, and the wife see that she reverence her husband. This dude, Paul, just said that I'm supposed to love my wife so much that she reveres me. She's supposed to let me make the call. When in doubt, I get to make the call, because that's what it says here. We're not supposed to be drunk. We're supposed to reprove, a.k.a. correct anybody doing evil doing. We're supposed to not even jest or joke about evil stuff. We're not supposed to do foolish talking. We're not supposed to be jesting about things that don't make any sense. We're not supposed to be, there's a lot in there. If you just ran around every day going, am I following the rules? There's a lot in there.
There's a lot, yeah.
Now, again, when you run a business, you got to follow up. This is what's different from church.
Mm-hmm.
So what if you ran church this way, though? You say, guys, I hate to do this to you, but has anybody been fornicating in this room? Anybody? And imagine people actually put their hands up. You'd be like,
Classic Gary.
Oh, you're sick. You are sick. You guys are sick. And then they go, how many of you have been jesting about dirty things? And then you're like, oh, you guys are sick. I can't believe you guys. And pretty soon they go, how many of you weren't loving your wife the right way? Oh. And then you put your hand up. Oh, then everyone says, you're sick. I mean, because we're all not perfect.
Right.
But this idea of following up, it gets crazy. Now, point 7, you got to record the action items. So once you follow up on the crap from last week, you got to say, now this is what we're going to do this week. And Jason, a meeting without action items is a waste of time.
It's not a meeting.
It's not a meeting.
It's just talking about feelings.
Why is it? So like last week we had Lolato. The real estate agent. Yeah. True. Why, when we had Mr. Lolato come present to our team about the buying a home, why did we allow a break for people to talk to him and ask him specific questions about home ownership?
Well, he gave a lot of information as far as like how easy it is to buy a house that a lot of people, even myself, considering, didn't know. And so giving people the break to kind of digest that and then ask him questions, get further direction was super important. Otherwise, they would have just been bombarded with a bunch of information. He would have pieced out and then they would have been sitting there thinking, what am I going to do with this? It gives them the ability to take action.
I believe that a lot of people are overwhelmed by the big idea.
Yep.
And they leave the meeting, whether it be buying a house or knocking out their to-do list. They struggle to know what to do unless you break it down into granular steps.
Right.
So you got to record the action items. But when you do that, you have to record who's going to do it.
Yep.
What needs to be done. When it has to be done. Oh, Jason, why do all these things have to be clarified? And you have a big team of people.
Well, because you have to, like you said, it has to be granular. If the four of us were meeting right now,
yep,
and you were to send us off with something to get done by, let's say, tomorrow morning, we would have to know who's on point for that. Because if you just say, okay, what's going to be a committee idea? Jason, Breck, Nathan, you guys need to just pontificate about how this action item needs to get done, and then come tomorrow, we're going to go over the results. All three of us, if we weren't who we are, having been through the structure and growth that we've been through, would just say, I know I would, especially back in the day, oh, Breck's smarter than me. He's got this. I'll just, whatever he decides to do, I'm going to do that. And then Breck might be thinking, Nathan's the real mastermind here. I'm going to piggyback off of what he's going to do, and then I'm just going to assume it's going to be covered. And that's one of the big things that I've noticed when it comes to where meetings fall apart. Somebody, just whether it be the business owner or whoever's running the meeting, will have some just like oblivious action item. It's open-ended. It's consider this, think about this, let's pray about this.
It never gets done.
It'll be
exactly.
like we want to improve the atmosphere of the business.
Right. But who's going to improve the atmosphere?
We want to improve the brand. That's the action item. Improve the brand. So, no, you got to break it down into improve the business card. Mm-hmm. Have 3 different mock-ups of the business card ready by next week.
Yeah. But who's going to do it? What needs to get done? When's it done by?
Yes. So what we're going to do now is now that we know the 7 steps, I repeat them again. You got to make the weekly agenda. Mm-hmm. You got to print out that weekly meeting agenda. Step 3, you got to schedule the meeting to be at the same time every week. Step 4, you got to start that meeting on time.
On time.
Step 5, you got to stay on that agenda.
Every time.
Step 6, you got to follow up from last week. And step 7, you got to record those action items.
True.
So now let's go lead the meeting for Elephant in the Room, all right? Mm-hmm. So we start off the meeting. Every week, I recommend on your agenda, you start off with wins.
Yes.
Positive things. So this was last week. We said, Larry, downtown, you fixed the lights. Great job, Larry. Woo! Yes. All right. Other wins of the week. Carly, you bought the clippers for Brittany. Good job. 3, Carly, you bought more corded clippers. And again, if you weren't a part of the culture, it wouldn't make any sense to you. Step 4, good job painting the wall at South Tulsa. Woo!
Yep.
Why do I start with positive things? I mean, Nathan, why does the church start with praise and worship? Why do you start with positive things?
Because you've got to be in a attitude of receiving. And so you're going to come there with a pile of junk. Everyone walks in with a pile of junk. They're going to come in with their attitude. They're going to come in with their agenda. They're going to come in with the way that
Can't find my wallet.
This is, it's just, oh man, the water, it wasn't cold enough today. Just like if we could change the water coldness, and you got to get them in a spirit of excitement. The same way every band, think about this. Have you ever gone to a concert where there was not an opening act? There was someone to warm the crowd up. Even comedians have a comedy show will have somebody in there to kind of warm the crowd, get them into the spirit.
People don't know that's what Ed McMahon did for Johnny Carson for years. He
Yeah.
was always his hype man.
Yeah.
He would get up there and get people fired up. You got to get the crowd moving.
Yeah.
Every speaker needs someone to introduce them.
The Republican Party asked us, Jason, to hop up on the mic and to fire up their audience.
Oh, yeah, and we
for the election watch party for the great state of Oklahoma. We were asked to host the election watch party for the Republican Party, and they said, "Can you guys get up there and fire the crowd up?"
Yeah.
And some people know how to do that, and some people don't. But I'm going to tell you, this part for me is the hardest. This is the part on Monday I'm going because I mentally I'm going. This is good because it's like you got to get the momentum going.
Oh yeah.
And some people show up drunk
Oh yeah.
or just newly not drunk. I'm not sure at what point you become undrunk.
Right.
They're
Crossover into hangover versus
Right,
still
there's-
actively drunk.
Okay. There's some, I'd say 3%. If we have 100 people at our staff meeting, maybe 3% of people are look like they were drunk an hour ago.
Oh yeah. They partied for 3 straight days and thought, oh, it's Monday.
Right. And then there's somebody who has the regret face, like, I think I'm pregnant. I think I am. I think I should take a test. I don't even know his name. Oh, no. And they're having all these thoughts in front of you. No, these are real things. And they bring it up to me. They're like, hey, I think I'm pregnant. The problem is I don't know who the guy is. What's the best way? And I'm like, are you kidding me? Is that a real question you're asking me? I mean, these are real questions people ask me. It's crazy. So, again, people come to the meetings with regret. People come to there's all those personalities, the complainer, the bad idea guy, the not mentally present, the chronically tired people. They're all there. And you cannot let them adjust your emotional state.
Nope. So you got to start with the positivity. You have to bring the energy. You have to talk about the good news first.
The good news first. The good news.
Adjust their emotional state.
Now, I have, Jason, is it okay if I share good news with the listeners?
Yeah, please do.
On January 6th, I and many great patriots shall be going to Washington, D.C.
Nice.
And if you're listening right now, I encourage you to go as well. The President of these United States has asked for every freedom-loving American to go to Washington, D.C. on January 6th for a big announcement. A big announcement. Now, what is that announcement? We don't know. But there's going to be millions of people there. I'm going to be staying with Pastor Dave Scarlett and my wife and I, and then Amanda Grace, the prophet. And apparently Amanda Grace will be speaking right before General Flynn or right after. So we'll be with that group of people with their security, that whole thing. We'll be hanging out with Pastor Brian Gibson will be there. Aaron Antis is going to be there. James D. Cristofaro is going to be there. Nason Jordan are going to be there. A lot of the wonderful guests we've had on this Thrive Time show are going to be there. Patrick Byrne, the founder of Overstock.com, is going to be there. It's going to be a powerful event. It's good news. It's good news.
That's great news.
Jason, you want to hear more good news?
Oh, yes, please. Hit me with those wins.
Can you handle more good news?
Always. Before 7? Come on.
Okay.
Give them your best shot.
The Sunday Service Choir, Kanye West's Sunday Service Choir, they just dropped a new album, and this thing is sick. Now, I don't know if this is the kind of stuff you want to, bop around in your car to. I don't know if this is the kind of the new, I don't know if this is the new stuff that you can listen to in your car, but they just dropped some new music, and it is incredible. Have you heard it yet, Jason?
I have not.
Oh, boy. Let me pull it up here. Kanye West, Sunday Service, new music.
I just love a musical group that's like consistent, or it consists of 15 plus people. Makes me happy.
It's massive. Okay, it's
I
called.
love choral arrangements.
It's called Emmanuel. Let me pull it up here real quick. Now, folks, it's called Emmanuel. Okay, Emmanuel. This would be Sunday Service. Okay, so all positive things. Now, in a perfect scenario, right? I mean, these are all good wins. You want to share the wins. Jason, why do you have to share the wins? Why can't you just keep the wins secret, private wins?
Well, for you personally, it's nice to get that out because a lot of times most people look for like outward acknowledgement. If I'm doing a good job, I want somebody like if I'm cleaning carpets for Nathan and I'm killing it, I'm showing up early, I'm staying late, my reviews are up, my customer service is great, everybody loves me. If I'm not going to be the first person to brag on myself because I'm going to feel like that's conceited. I'm going to look for that elsewhere. And if I don't get it, I'm going to feel like, well, maybe I'm not doing a good enough job. I don't like that idea. I don't think that you need to look for praise from other people. I feel like if you are killing it, you need to be the first person to say, hey, I got this done this week. That's awesome. So like when you start out on Mondays and you're like, oh, give me some wins. And everybody is like kind of quiet. You've seen me hop into it. Guys, that was some weak energy. He's asking you, how was your weekend? One little good nugget. Even if you feel like you're bragging, just say it.
Give me something.
Exactly. Or if I know that somebody did something great and they don't speak up, I'll throw that one out for them. Be like, hey, Breck's killing it. He had a record number of appointments this week. Oh, well, Thank you. I'm so glad somebody acknowledged that. But you have to bring that out of yourself because you have to acknowledge the things that you were doing. Otherwise, you're going to kind of drift and you're going to start to feel like nobody appreciates it.
So Kanye West, he has one new song that came out, and the song, the actual title of the song, I don't want to mispronounce it, but it's a Latin word. It's P-U-E-R. I believe it's puer, and what it refers to is forever young. It's some people call it Peter Pan syndrome, where you have a childlike mind. But
That's
listen to this song. All just vocals, crazy. Now, to me, that is a win. However, for our staff, they would be like, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand that. So it's got to be a win that pertains to the staff.
Right.
So for me, going to D.C. for a big announcement from the president, to hear that with millions of other patriots, that's exciting.
Very.
Because we know on this show there was mass-scale voter fraud. There was mass-scale election fraud. We have irrefutable proof of election fraud. Right. We know that 2020 is the year where America will clearly see the truth about the election fraud and the medical fraud. This will be the year where America sees that the models that said 2.2 million people might die, those were false and funded by Bill Gates and Amazon. America will see that the case inflation, the PCR tests that say that everybody has COVID, these PCR tests that everybody's supposed to get tested with to see if you have a virus that's so deadly you have to get tested to know if you have it. Those tests are falsely calibrated. Thus, they're supposed to be set at 17 to 20 cycles, and they are set at 40 cycles, which is a lot like your speedometer in your car telling you you're driving 400 miles an hour, when in fact you are driving 7 miles an hour. We know that the models are fake. We know that the tests are fake. And we know that the actual treatments that really do fix COVID-19 and treat people, that being budesonide and ivermectin, those are being blocked from you for fake reasons. This is going to be the year that everybody sees all that. And so for us who listen to this show, this is exciting news.
Right.
But if I play that song in our staff meeting on Monday, it's going to go over like a lead balloon. You know why? Because nobody knows what the word means. Nobody has any idea what Kanye West is talking about, and it's not going to work. So you have to go over stuff that are wins in the context of your team.
Right.
Right.
Well, and if you don't go over wins with your team and you don't help to encourage them, as an old saying, but if you don't kiss your wife, someone else will. And if you don't take care of your employees, I've heard Dr. Z say this all the time, if you don't take care of your employees and pay them well, someone else will. And part of that is letting them know you notice them.
Yep.
It's super important you do this.
And as the owner, oftentimes I'm the one that those wins come to, and they don't actually know those wins. So if I don't share them with them, they're not aware that they even exist.
True.
And so, yeah, I mean, like a patient will come back and give us great feedback, but they didn't say it to the staff. They told it to me. And so they'll never know.
And everybody comes to work for different reasons. So you as the owner might come to work because you want to, solve the problem, give America the best haircuts they can have. Maybe you want to help your patients restore their health. Maybe you want to make time freedom. But everybody comes to a business for a different reason. But Jason, can I tell you a little secret as to why most people come to work?
I love secrets.
You ready?
Yeah.
For friendship.
Yeah, not even for pay. It's because they need somebody to connect with.
And that used to be church, but now it's not. You used to meet people at church and then become friends with them during the week, and now we don't as a culture. I hope we go back to a time when we do, but that's where you would meet people with similar values and faith, and then the rest of the week you'd hang out with them. But now people don't, so people are at work looking around for friends, looking around for, hey, what do you guys want to do tonight? Hey, you guys want to hang out? And I have found that over the years, most of the employees who've worked with me, they usually become more loyal to the friendships than to the workplace, almost every time.
Oh, absolutely.
So usually when people leave, they leave in groups of 3 or 4 or 5 because they're all friends, because that's what happens. And so you as an owner just have to understand that you might go, big win, guys, big win. I reduced my tax liability by $7,000. Yeah. Now, they don't know that you went without pay for the first 4 years as you were building your business.
Nor do they care.
Right. All they're thinking about is, this guy's making a ton of money. And when you share with the team, I just made $7,000 additional dollars. Woo! I mean, you talk about that. That's like in the Bible, the homeboy with the coat of many colors. Who was the homeboy with the coat of many colors?
Joseph,
yep.
Joseph saying, look at this guy's dad got me, his favorite son, this coat of many colors. All of you have the plain coats, but I've got a coat of many colors.
I'm over here looking like Kanye.
And I've got a dream that someday, you all, I had a dream there, and I don't know what this dream's about. I just want to tell it to you guys. I had this dream that the corn would be like bowing down to I know it sounds in my dream like I'm saying that you guys are going to bow down to me someday.
Wait, we're going to bow to you?
And I know that I have the coat of many colors, and you do not. But don't be bitter. Oh, no. I'm telling you, I see business owners, when they go over the wins, they irritate their staff.
right?
Don't go over the wins with your team unless it makes any sense, okay?
Thanks, guys. Due to
Their
your
wins.
hard work, I finally bought that Lamborghini I wanted. You guys rock.
I'm telling you, I've
Thank
seen
you.
business owners do that, what you just said right there, do that very thing with their staff.
Oh, yeah.
Keep it up. I want to keep driving.
Yeah. Wins of the week. I'm going to be in Mexico for 2 weeks. You guys are going to be here over the holidays.
Oh,
so
yeah, big wins.
Work hard.
You want to
I'm
win?
going to run up
Pair
a
of
big
rims.
bar tab.
I'm just telling you, this is where
terrible.
it gets weird. So the wins have to be a win for the team. Now, the next thing we go over in our staff meeting is we do tip matching.
Yeah.
Now, tip matching is where whatever the largest tip was that a stylist received during the week, we shall match the tip.
Love it.
Why do we do that, Jason?
Because it rewards good work.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't get it. Like, so I was having this conversation. I was walking one of my clients recently through. I showed them an example of ours because they asked, how do I effectively run a meeting with all of my team? I feel like a lot of the times I go over numbers and things that they hate. What's a good structure? So I'm walking them through this. He had me reiterate, I kid you not, 3 times because it was so much information. He goes, you guys cover all of this? I was like, yeah. So he had me break it down. He goes, what's tip matching? I said, well, we do a service-based job.
Yep.
People come in. Our whole thing is we have to over-deliver a wow experience every time. How you do that is you have a great conversation. You offer a great product. There's follow-up. Everything is intentional. And so the people who do that super well, what's the quote? Over-deliver and soon you shall be overpaid.
Yep.
The people who over-deliver are overpaid. And so what we do is we give them a chance to brag on themselves. Again, bringing the wins out of them. Who got the biggest tip? So you always start with something. Oh, okay, who got $20? So like 7 hands go up. Who got 30? Some hands go down. Who got 50? And then all of a sudden you have somebody who had like $100 or $200. And then as a thank you for them grinding it out and kicking butt so much so that somebody gave them $100 to $200, you give them an additional to say, hey, I appreciate you. Keep up the good work.
This is so important for everybody out there. Again, why I'm going over our agenda with you is I'm hoping that you will then go, okay, I should put that on my agenda. That pertains to me. That let's say that you are in the chiropractic industry and you're listening.
Right.
And you had let's say you're an owner of a business and you have a chiropractic practice and you have many chiropractors. or you have front desk people. Breck, you could reward the person who gets the most reviews.
Absolutely.
You could reward the doctor who gets the best feedback from a patient.
Yep.
I mean, you have to think about these things. Nathan, maybe the person who has the most positive reviews as a result of their carpet cleaning.
Yep.
But you got to praise the good stuff.
Yep.
Well, and a great thing you can do that will help your employees connect well with the customers is, one, reward them for the reviews, but also review the reviews and see how the employees are seen by the customers, because that can really help to boost them. They're like, wow, I didn't realize everyone's noticing the work that I'm doing. Because you'll read those reviews and you're like, oh, his timeliness, how he showed up right on time, how he paid attention, how he was really communicative, how he would over deliver. And they're like, wow, this really matters, because it's not just from me trying to praise them, but the customer is telling you what good they're doing.
Well, and praise what you want to grow. Praise what you want to increase.
True.
Those are the things that they'll do more of, because that's what they're getting praised for. So if it's efficiency, if it's the reviews, whatever you're trying to increase that statistic or grow in that area, praise that.
It's so important. And again, you put the wins of the week out there. Okay, you brag. In our case, we do wins of the week, then we do tip matching. Then what you want to do, and we go over the office superstar of the week. It's someone in the office that's doing a great job. They're not out cutting hair. They're not out consulting with the client. They're not customer facing.
Right.
But they're in the trenches. They're on the search engine team. Maybe they're doing IT support. Maybe they're doing web development, graphic design. You got to brag on those people. Okay. Then what we do is we allow the managers to praise on their top team member of the week.
Oh, yeah.
Why, Jason, do we do that?
Because, again, most people will go through their workday thinking that nobody notices what they're doing, and then to have their manager whose sole goal is to make sure that everything operates, they're seen as like the man. They're the get-it-done person, male or female. But for them to say, hey, Breck really stepped it up this week. I was in the weeds. There were a lot of times where I was overwhelmed, overworked, and Breck stepped in. He came in early. He stayed late. He over-delivered. God, he was my point man. I just want to say thank you. The second that people hear thank you, well, thank you.
Wait, in the weeds? How much weed?
Carl level.
Oh, okay.
But no, seriously, it's just, again, it's reiterating and acknowledging the fact that somebody did something extra makes them feel better. And again, it will allow them to kind of self-reflect and think, well, if I feel good about them praising me for this, maybe I should do that more often.
I want to make sure everybody out there gets these words that are coming out of my mouth, because I want to help you lead effective business meetings, okay? You got to start off with those wins. You got to do it. And you have to think about the wins previous to the discussion.
Don't just pull them up.
Okay. You can't just, because then you're going to go blank because you're in front of people. And everybody, win, you guys, and your brain explodes in front of everybody.
Yep.
And then you start to get nervous, and then the win becomes a loss.
Yeah.
I'm serious. It becomes a trapdoor to the bottom. We've all been in those staff meetings, and okay, fine, everybody, and it just becomes a big.
Those who are following start to wonder, why are they following?
There you go. So then you do in our office we do the tip matching. We brag on the office superstar. Then the managers brag on their people. There's a lot of time. I mean, I would say of a 1 hour meeting, 15 minutes are just praising people. At least 10 minutes.
Yep.
Just praising people. Praising people.
It's good news, good energy.
You got to do it now. Now the next thing we go over is new people. Jason, think about this. If the average employee stays at a job for the average person stays at a job for 104 weeks, 2 years.
Yep.
And there are 104 employees. How many employees should be leaving every week, approximately? I mean, we'd have one employee a week, right?
Yeah.
If the average employee stays at a job for 2 years, and you have over 100 employees, how many people leave a week? That would be at least one. So, Jason, why do I have to introduce the new people to the team?
New or nude?
New. In
okay.
NEW.
Okay.
Stop reading your agenda on today's show.
No wonder people love Complete Carpet so much.
Wow. Wow.
This episode brought to you in part
The
by Complete Carpet.
lasciviousness over there at Complete Carpet is out of control. Now, let's talk about this, though. Why do we have to introduce the new people?
Well, one, it gives the new NEW person, Nathan, the ability to meet the rest of the team, so then that way they don't feel like the outsider. A lot of times people join on, and, like you said, a lot of people go to work to seek friendship. And so it can seem like everybody else has already, made a connection, and you're kind of just out there wandering adrift. So you always bring people up. So every time we get a new stylist, you bring them up at the beginning of the Monday meeting, and you always ask them, what's your name? What'd you do before this? And then you hit them with a curveball question like, what's your favorite animal?
What's your favorite animal?
Yeah.
It's an easy question. We're just getting a chance to meet. Right. And then afterwards, people can meet each other, shake each other's hands. It's so important, okay?
It's a liger.
Then we go over when I have a section called Hot Topics. It's where I'm just going over internal housekeeping stuff that always needs to be corrected. We're talking about letting people know, hey, anybody who comes in for a free cleanup, give it to them. We want to go over with them why we want to leave our customers in awe, which I'll be going over again this week because I try to go over that every month, Jason. You know what I mean? I go over that haircut consultations. I'm going over the haircut process. The stuff in your office that has to be gone over every week, you got to go over every week.
True. Right.
And you might be going, I feel like all I do is the same thing every week. You kind of do.
That's how we stay on target.
That's how you be profitable.
And all you do is, I mean, if you went into Starbucks and every week they did a new thing, like this week we don't serve coffee. Next week we will serve coffee. This week we're serving hamburgers. Now next month we'll be serving lobster. And they just kept changing it. There couldn't be any consistency there. So you've got to go over the same thing over and over. And it's up to you to bring some sizzle to it so people want to be there.
Right.
Then we go over the numbers. Now, Jason, I go over the numbers. I won't belabor this, but there's a spreadsheet
Yep.
where I go over how many members we have,
Yep. The tracking.
our conversion rate, how many reviews we have. There's key performance indicators. I recommend everybody out there, you write down 5 numbers that you need to go over every week. 5 numbers. In our case, it's how many members do we have? How many reviews do we have? What was our conversion rate for memberships?
How many products we sold.
How many products we sold? These are things you want to go over.
Right.
All right. You got to track the numbers. What you measure, you treasure. All right. What you focus on grows over time. You got to focus on these things. Okay. Now, then you do your big. Then we go over the biggest limiting factor. I asked the question: were there any issues this week in the store at the front desk? And someone will tell me. I say, are there any issues this week in the call center that occurred?
Yep.
And someone will tell me. And I say, is there any issues with the WOW experience? Someone will tell me. And then I say, now, if you have any paycheck issues or concerns, you can go over those right now with Amelia. She'll be walking around. You can and if you have any issues with the game of life, a.k.a. the business, you can talk to me privately. And Jason, why do I allow people to go over the issues with me privately?
Well, because a lot of the times they're just going to sit on that. They're not going to bring it up in the meeting because it's personal.
Right.
But because you are a good, effective manager and not only manager, mentor, you want to be able to help your employees. And so if you feel like there's an issue in their life where they're not getting the aid that they need, you let them know that they can come to you, because then when you solve that problem, not only have you alleviated that for them in their personal life, you've alleviated that from them in their work life, so they're not bringing it back into the business.
It is so important that you follow this format. And when you end the meeting, you want to end the meeting with a positive thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like 3, 2, 1, boom. You leave with some, or, hey, everybody, let's bring it in real quick. Let's bring it in. Or, hey, guys, I'm so excited for you.
Oh, yeah.
I will see you next week. Go get them.
Woo.
Or
Wu-Tang on
something.
3.
You've got to end every Guts service, Guts Church. Somebody comes up there and goes, all right, guys, that was Pastor Bill. He talked about this and that, bang, bang, boom, boom. And as you go out there, preach. And he says it every time.
Yep.
You got to have some sort of like huddle, some tradition, some ritual, some way you end every meeting. Because, Jason, if you end a meeting with like a, what happens? If you end the meeting where there's not really an official ending, what happens?
Yeah. Well, it's like ending a movie or a TV series on a cliffhanger. You're building up. There's all this like momentum, and then all of a sudden it's like, to be continued.
You've got...
What? No. I have no closure.
Now, again, if you do not follow this format, your meetings are going to get awkward. You're going to hate them. Your team's going to hate them. Pretty soon you're going to say, well, we won't meet this week.
Right.
And then you will just eventually stop meeting all together.
Little history lesson. On Christmas Day, 1776, you know what was going on Christmas Day, 1776?
A war?
George Washington was leading the military, the Patriots, into battle versus the Redcoats.
Right.
Because he was a leader. And leaders lead their people through their example.
True.
He led his men into the battle on Christmas Day.
You mean to tell me Washington didn't take a holiday?
This is interesting. Jason, why, even if somebody follows all of the stuff on here, and their personal life is a disaster, why will nobody follow them?
Well, because they are not going to be a credible person. You can go through every aspect of this, but if outside of work, your life has no structure, your life is high drama, your life is unstable, people aren't going to look at you as inspirational. They're going to just be like, okay, well, this guy can follow a script. That's great, but he doesn't lead by example. He just manages. There's a difference between they're just a boss. There's a difference between a boss and a leader. The boss will say the things they need to say, but not necessarily do it. The leader is going to lead by example. They're going to say, hey, here's the path. Not only am I giving it to you, I do it, and that's why I'm successful.
And I'll challenge people. Have you ever met a Christian that didn't live the lifestyle and you immediately didn't want to be a Christian because you saw how badly they didn't live the lifestyle themselves? I think that's a lot of people.
The hypocrisy is the biggest
hypocrisy.
problem.
So what I'm going to do for a second is I'm going to rip on myself. I'm going back to Ephesians chapter 5, which is this is the only chapter, the only book of the Bible I seem to be able to get to.
Consistently, just over and over.
No, I'm serious because it's like, let's listen to this. It starts off.
There's a lot
But
there.
ye therefore followers of God as dear children. I got that. And walk in love. That's where it always comes off the right. No, it's
Line 1, walk in love.
This is the second verse of chapter 5. Jason, this is right here. This is where the wheels fall off for me. Right here. It says, and walk in love, as Christ also hath loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and a sacrifice to God for a sweet-smelling Savior. I'm going, I know I'm supposed to walk in love. Here it is at 6 a.m. on Tuesday. I've been walking in love all night. It was so peaceful. It was so good. It was so good. The night was good. The hot tub was good. My family was good. Jason, we had a good show on Monday night. I mean, things are good. I went to bed 9 p.m.
Yep.
I wake up at 3. Things are so good. At 3:30, at 4, at 4:30, things are good. Because I'm doing my stuff, and my stuff is getting done. There's productivity going on. And then at 6 o'clock, my plan encounters this thing I call man. Humans.
Right.
And then there's somebody who shows up at the meeting drunk. Or they were drunk an hour ago. or they have a personal problem. And it is so hard to walk in love.
Oh,
True.
absolutely.
For me. I mean, that's the thing. It's so easy to be like, ah! So I limit the amount of curse words that I allow myself to give on in my meetings to like 702. I don't say more than 702
more than
curse
that.
words, no more. And I'm serious. It's a real thing that I've been working on. I'm going, how is it possible? Because I'm not kidding. And this is my internal struggle. And Jason, you see this.
I do.
People will say to me, they'll send me a text. I keep my phone off at the bar at 5:58.
Yep.
The same people every week do it. And
Now,
they'll say,
now, when you say bar, you mean there is a bar at the office. You're not
Right.
at the bar with your phone
Correct.
there.
Good
drinking.
clarifying.
For those
I
who are
this just
listening
a-
and never been.
but I'll get a text message that comes through at 5:58 in the morning from the same adults. I'm talking about people who are older than 40 years old going, are we still meeting? And you go, yes. Because we always meet at
Just like
6.
last week.
And I'm not kidding. So I don't see the message. Jason, then we lead the meeting.
Yep.
I come out of the meeting at usually 6:55 or 7. And my next meeting starts at 7 or whatever. And I see the text message before the next meeting. I opened it up, and it says, hey, I never got a confirmation. Can you email me what we covered in today's meeting? And I am not kidding. As the Lord might witness, this scenario happens in some way, shape, or form every single day. And then because they're not at the meeting, and them being somebody, it's somebody every time.
Right.
Then they'll go, when's the Christmas party again?
Yeah.
And then you'll tell them, and they go, I was offended. I wasn't involved in the decision. And it goes on and on and on.
It's March. Don't worry about it.
And then I say, holy! And I open Ephesians. And I'm like, God, I'm supposed to walk in love. How can I possibly get the chapter wrong? I'm going to start just running around with the Bible, and I'll just circle that part, Jason. And when bad things happen, I'm just going to
So remember, every time somebody just takes that big dehydrated pee in your pool, walk in love.
I mean, it's so hard to do that.
The visual of that was great. Thank you. My
It
walk was
is.
complete.
It is.
Yeah.
And then people, what happens is there's foolish talking. It says here, verse 4, neither filthiness nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient. It's the people in the meeting. Maybe I'm walking in love, and there's always the new guy.
Yep.
He's the new guy in the meeting. He's never been in a meeting before because this is his first time in the meeting, and he loves to do the side comment thing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's always
And
the
everybody
person-
starts to look around.
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you, folks, that's the hardest part. Hardest part is executing this plan. How do you do it? You do it over and over. Every week you get better. I recommend shadowing people that do it well. And,
Absolutely.
And Jason, I want to go over one last thing and then we'll wrap up today's show. I am going to Washington, D.C. on January 6th. And I encourage everybody out there, if you have the financial capacity to get there, please go to Washington, D.C. Why? Because the president has asked us to do this, and this is the most epic time in American history. We have the Chinese communists literally attempting to steal our election. And our president of these United States has asked everybody to attend. He's asked us to attend, to go to Washington, D.C., to show our support. He's asked us to do that. And when he says, he doesn't typically invite us or ask us to go to Washington, D.C.
True.
But he has written, I'm just reading his recent tweets from 14 hours ago. He says, but when it is all over and this period of time becomes just another ugly chapter in our country's history, we will win. We will win. He says the lockdowns in Democrat-run states are absolutely ruining the lives of so many people, far more than the damage that would be caused by the China virus. Cases in California have risen despite their lockdowns, yet Florida and other states are opening and doing well. Common sense, please.
Amen.
It's just not common.
President Trump, he says, a young military man working in Afghanistan told me that the elections in Afghanistan are far more secure and much better run than the USA's 2020 election. Ours, with its millions and millions of corrupt mail-in ballots, was the election of a third world country. I mean, he's asking us, though, to get out there on January 6th. He's asking. And I think that is very important. He says, I'm reading, he says, the Justice Department and the FBI have done nothing about the 2020 presidential election voter fraud, the biggest scam of our nation's history. Despite overwhelming evidence, they should be ashamed. History will remember. Never give up. See everyone in D.C. on January 6th. So that's where I'm going. I believe that's where you should go. I think we should all go there. Now, when we go there, the question is, what are we going to be doing? Well, one, the president wants to share a special message on January 6th. Mm-hmm. But it's important, and this is where we're going to wrap up today's show. You got to, when you start off your meeting, you got to go, what is the point of this meeting? Why are we having this meeting?
Right.
So let's go over that. Jason, when we go to D.C., when I go to D.C., I have a specific list of people that I want to meet.
Yep.
Why do you have to take the time before the meeting starts to think about what do we want to accomplish as a result of the meeting?
Because writing the outline not only helps you prepare, but it helps you execute. If you don't know the goal, if you don't know your why, you're just going to be there. You're going to be complacent. You're going to be drifting. So you have to know what is supposed to come of this.
What is the point of this meeting?
Right.
If you have no target, you're guaranteed not to hit it.
So what I'm doing for this is I'm making a list of all the people that I want to meet. So I'll be staying with Amanda Grace, the prophet. I'll be also staying with Pastor Dave Scarlett, who has millions of listeners to his show, and he's friends with General Flynn. So I'm making a list of all the people that I want to meet,
Sure,
and all the people that I want to then have on the show. I'm also bringing my phone with me where I can record some of the conversations. I'll say, hey, can I interview you now? Mm-hmm. But Jason, I got to be intentional about all the things I want to get done while I'm there.
Right.
Because if not, once you encounter, I mean, there's going to be over 1 million people there. There might be 2 million people there.
Mm-hmm. Right.
When all of a sudden you encounter 2 million people in one place at one time, what happens to the plan if you don't have a written out plan?
It could get a little overwhelming, and then everything just goes cattywampus.
If you've ever seen someone jump in a river, that's what happens. You just get taken downstream.
So all of this, again, Capstone thought there is no substitute for preparation.
True.
And I think that we as humans, we want to skip past this part. We want to say, no, I'm a smart guy. I don't need to have a plan. I don't need to write something down. I don't need – and if you do that, you're just not going to have any traction.
Nope.
So, again, if you're saying, Clay, what can I do as a result of this show? Well, one, I'm hoping that you know how to run an effective meeting as a result of this show. Mm-hmm. I'm also saying come to D.C. on January 6th, 2021. I mean this sincerely. I believe this will be the most historic event to take place in the history of our country since the beginning of the Revolutionary War. I believe it is going to be that intense because what has happened is governors, specifically the governor of Georgia, the governors in California, Michigan, etc., have been committing treason. They have been committing acts of treason. And in our country, the word treason is currently, when you commit treason, it's an act against your own country. It's an act where you are working with a foreign power to subvert the law. And when you're committing treason, I mean, this is what it's defined as in our country. It says the crime of betraying one's country, especially by attempting to kill the sovereign or overthrow the government. And the actual penalty for treason right now, according to our U.S. government, states that whoever owing allegiance to the United States levies war against them and adheres to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort within the United States or elsewhere, is guilty of treason and shall suffer death, or shall be imprisoned not less than 5 years, and they shall be incapable of holding office. So if our president gets up there and shares with the American people, this is what the actual election results were, because they have now seized the servers.
Yeah.
You see, President Trump has seized these SolarWinds servers. And just so everybody understands this, when you went into the election booth to vote, you were voting on the Dominion Voting Systems, which have it's a Canadian company, Dominion, and they have Chinese parts in the hardware. And the company Dominion, they share office space with George Soros, and the head of security and strategy for Dominion, Eric Coomer, is an outspoken member of Antifa who bragged on social media that he will never let the president win. The software, known as Smartmatic or Sequoia, that software was coded out by communist Venezuelans. And at the time of the election, the vast majority of the ownership of the company was owned by the Chinese government, who infused $400 million of capital into Dominion previous to the election.
Almost sounds like an investment.
Step 3, your votes were then sent to Frankfurt, Germany, where your votes were stored on Amazon servers. We've seized those servers. Step 4, your votes were then tabulated in Barcelona, where the votes can be switched. So, Jason, if the president makes a presentation to America via our emergency broadcast system, which he can do, it's like when you get an Amber Alert.
Yeah.
Right.
Imagine you get a text message from the president or an announcement, however people hear, and they see what the actual results were, and it shows that 75% of America voted for the president. What's that going to do to some people that only watch MSNBC?
It's going to blow their minds. It's going to, I don't know if they're going to be very confused.
And when he begins to arrest people that were heroes for people, some Republicans and some Democrats, what's that going to do to people? Breck, what's that? How are people going to handle that? People who are not in this flow with
chaos
us.
and discord. I mean, it's going to rock the whole foundation. Like you said, this could be just epically historic.
It could be.
Yeah.
You know? So, again, I have to make a plan of what I'm going to get done before the event happens. Otherwise, when you run into contact with people in that moment of excitement, you tend to lose focus. And you tend to go, this is so exciting. This is so exciting. And you don't end up spending the time with the right people.
Well, and just having that list makes it that much more likely that you are going to accomplish meeting those people. You know you're going to be in the same place at the same time, but there's also going to be all these other people. And if you're not very intentional, proactive about it, or even have thought through who is it that I want to meet, you could be in the same room and miss your opportunity.
I would just, again, if you're out there today and you struggle leading a meeting, you're not alone. Jason, how many meetings did you have to lead before you felt confident?
Oh, I don't even know if I could tell you the exact number. There are still times where I will be going through and I think, God, I could be at least 10% better, really. Just because there's the constant repetition. You have to do it every single week. You have to cover the same stuff. Otherwise, you're not going to get good at it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope this was effective for you. I hope that this was something you learned from. And if you ever feel stuck or you ever don't know what to do, don't be a stranger. Shoot us an email to info@thrivetimeshow.com, info@thrivetimeshow.com, and your questions become the source of the new content we produce on each and every show. This show is all about you, helping you to get the truth, teaching you specific systems. We're all about time freedom and financial freedom, and it turns out we're also about American freedom, because without freedom, you can't run a business. I mean, all these business pro tips don't go over so well in Venezuela or China, because you don't have the freedom to exercise any type of human rights. You don't have the ability to have the freedom to start a business. And so if our country's not free, none of this matters. And that's why we talk about these subjects on this show. And now, without any further ado, we like to end each and every show with a boom, because boom stands for big, overwhelming, optimistic momentum. And that is what it takes to be successful. It's big, overwhelming, optimistic momentum. And now, without any further ado, here we go. 3, 2, 1, boom!
The Thrive Time Show, 2-day interactive business workshops, are the highest and most reviewed business workshops on the planet. You can learn the proven 13-point business systems that Dr. Zellner and I have used over and over to start and grow successful companies. I mean, we get into the specific steps on what you need to do to optimize your website. We're going to teach you how to fix your conversion rate. We're going to teach you how to do a social media marketing campaign that works. How do you raise capital? How do you get a small business loan? We teach you everything you need to know here during a 2-day, 15-hour workshop. It's all here for you. You work every day in your business, but for 2 days you can escape and work on your business and build these proven systems, so now you can have a successful company that will produce both the time freedom and the financial freedom that you deserve. You're going to leave energized, motivated, but you're also going to leave empowered. The reason why I've built these workshops is because as an entrepreneur, I always wish that I had this. And because there wasn't anything like this, I would go to these motivational seminars, no money down, real estate, Ponzi scheme, get motivated seminars, and they would never teach me anything. It was like you went there and you paid for the big chocolate Easter bunny, but inside of it, it was a hollow nothingness. And I wanted the knowledge, and they're like, oh, but we'll teach you the knowledge after our next workshop. And the great thing is we have nothing to upsell. At every workshop, we teach you what you need to know. There's no one in the back of the room trying to sell you some next big get-rich-quick, walk-on-hot coals product. It's literally, we teach you the brass tacks, the specific stuff that you need to know to learn how to start and grow a business. And I encourage you to not believe what I'm saying, and I want you to Google the Z66 auto auction. I want you to Google elephant in the room. Look at Robert Zellner and Associates. Look them up and say, are they successful because they're geniuses, or are they successful because they have a proven system? When you do that research, you will discover that the same systems that we use in our own business can be used in your business. Come to Tulsa, book a ticket, and I guarantee you it's going to be the best business workshop ever, and we'll even give you your money back if you don't love it. We've built this facility for you, and we're excited to see you.